We're good.
All right. Welcome back to another Lock It In YouTube special. I'm here with UNCLE TAV, and we are breaking down the first round series in the NBA playoffs. Similar to the NHL playoff previews that we did, we're going to go ahead and give a key, an X factor, and an MVP for each team. This one is about the Houston Rockets and the Utah Jazz. So, without further ado, let's get to the intros. Welcome back to Houston. At the beginning of the year, looked like a train wreck. At the end of the year, looks more like a team who made the precipice of the NBA Finals, but then choked it away when they couldn't seem to throw a rock into the ocean. Also, welcome back to Utah and their fans who crushed the spirit of OKC last year. Oh yeah, they also won at basketball too. This is a rematch of a second round series from last year where Houston won 4-1 and they left Donovan Mitchell battered and bruised.
Battered and bruised, that's right. It is a rematch of last year, but we got to remember that Utah was banged up.
Utah was banged up. Mitchell was banged up. Rubio was banged up. I think Crowder was even a little banged up. So definitely, it's not the same. And I don't think Houston is as good this year. But when looking at these two teams, it's actually really interesting for me. These teams, Houston is number 4 in effective field goal percentage, and Utah is number 5. Houston is actually bottom 10 in the league in assist to turnover ratio. But their turnovers are actually pretty low.
Interesting.
Houston is actually the number 2 offense, and Utah is the 14th. So if you looked at it, there isn't really much separating these teams in terms of like when you look at, like advanced stats and stuff. But somehow when it comes to actual offense, there actually is quite a large gap in these two teams. And I think that's going to be, kind of this story of this series. I think it's going to be a good series, but I think it really comes down to, can Utah keep up with Houston?
Yeah, I think this is going to really come down to 3-point shooting. Who really does shoot three ball better, to be honest with you. It's going to be one of those series. If Houston shoots it really well, they're winning.
Right. So for my X factor for Houston, I'm going to roll with Chris Paul's health, because that's this whole team's story. If Chris Paul's healthy, this team is so dangerous. If he's playing really well, this team is so dangerous. If he isn't, if he isn't healthy, or if, he's not fully healthy and he can't do the things he's supposed to do, and he doesn't just dominate this point guard matchup, then I think this team could be in trouble.
Yeah, I agree. I think Paul needs to be huge in the series, quite frankly. Houston's not going to let Harden beat them by himself.
Harden just can't.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but no matter how good Harden is, and that's a good segue here because Harden's my MVP. And I actually just want to go ahead and give him a little bit of credit because this team isn't as good as it was last year. And a lot of the carrying that he had to do for this team in the middle of the season was quite incredible. And it's not usually the style of basketball that I like to watch or that I would endorse. And I was actually notably a hater on this podcast at the beginning of it. But what he did was just so incredible. And it was actually so necessary for them to win. And this is a tough first round matchup. Utah might be like the 5th best team in the league. They started the year like 21-21, but have since been on an absolute tear, entering the playoffs hot, just like they did last year. And, this team's legit.
They're very legit. And they're playing well at the right time of year, similar to how they were last year. Just injuries kind of derailed them. From my X factor on the Utah side, I'm going with Slow Joe, baby. And Joe Ingles, I think. He's going to need to shoot it well. He's got to shoot it well. Houston's other 3-and-D guys aren't as good as they were last year. They're playing Austin Rivers. They're playing Daniel House. They're playing guys who leave you wanting more. If Ingles can win those matchups, that's what Utah's got to do. They've got to win positional matchups and then hope that they can contain Harden.
So that's actually a perfect segue because I totally agree with you. with everything that you're saying. For me, for my X factor for Utah, I like Jay Crowder for a lot of reasons that you're saying. He'll need to be on the floor because he's the guy who they're really going to put on hard most of the time. And if you saw, there was that great clip of
stay out of foul trouble.
There was a great clip of Patrick Beverley trying to teach him how to guard Harden. I don't know if you saw that clip.
Of course.
So for me, Jay Crowder is going to need to make some shots. He's going to need to make some 3-pointers so that, you know, he's not only a plus on the defensive end, but he's that plus on the offensive end. And then Utah MVP, I think this one's easy. Donovan Mitchell. This dude's a legit closer. At the end of games, he's legit scary with the ball in his hands. This is a close game late. He's actually one of the guys who I like late in the game who could go toe-to-toe with Harden. And he might not be as good, but in those final 5 minutes, he can pull them out a couple games in the series. I think Utah has a legit chance.
Oh, I think they definitely have a chance. Gobert's my MVP. I think if he can really control the paint, that's going to be huge for them. He's got to dominate.
I think we both agree that if this team has any chance, that Mitchell and Gobert are going to need to be really good. And it's funny 100%. That if you look at this team's statistics, like advanced statistics, this team is really good when Mitchell and Gobert are on the floor together, and they're really bad when they aren't. But when those two are on the floor together, they are a really, really good team. So however long those two guys could be on the floor and how long they could dominate their matchups for, I definitely think Houston's weak, weaker than last year. I still think that they're a threat to beat Golden State. They're probably the best threat to beat Golden State. But it's going to come down to, can Chris Paul be healthy? And, you know, just their bench guys stepping up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to bet, what would you go for this series?
I'd probably take Utah with a plus mark.
Yeah.
I think because I like that value. I think they're actually very evenly matched teams.
Yeah.
My gut honestly tells me that Houston might win because they've got Harden, but I also think Utah is a little bit better about last year. So we'll see.
I'd probably bet on these teams when they're at home.
My gut is Utah and Steph.
My guess is I would probably bet on these teams when they're at home, because I think that there's going to be a lot of home wins in this. I really do. You know, obviously, who knows what's going to happen, but I could definitely see a scenario where Houston's up 2-0, and then they're back in Houston for Game 5 at 2-2, and the series is decided in the last 3 games.